It's a fast week, and it's hard to reflect back, when for us it's a Wednesday, and I know it's only Tuesday, but we play on Friday afternoon, so things are accelerated. So this is a little later in the week than I'm used to. So the preparation's a little further ahead. You're a little further ahead than the final week, but I do want to recognize, I thought last week our guys did a really good job at handling the entire week, and not just because they knew what was ahead of them and what was coming up this week, and playing for all the marbles and things like that. But I thought that they kind of walked into an environment that was going to be tough, and I thought they did a really good job in the preparation for it, preparing themselves for, not the weather. Weather is just a part of the game, but even that environment, playing in a pro stadium where there's not a lot of people, that I don't think it affected them. And they came out, did what they needed to do, played the way we expected them to play, and obviously we got out of town with a victory. I thought Evan stepped up and did a really good job. I thought he did a good job at managing the situation that we were in. I'm not saying the game was under control, but I thought, as you walk in there, your defense is playing really well. You're in a situation that, we talked all week about, we got to make sure we take care of the football. And, so he walked into a situation of the game where, right before half, and, are you going to chuck the thing, or are you going to try to, be smart? We've done a better job in some of those situations and in the half with the football, and keeping yourself in a really good position. And, so I thought I did that. I thought I came out the second half and did a really good job at just managing, where we were and what we needed to do moving forward. So obviously this week is huge, and that's obviously for everything and for all the marbles. This is the start of the championship, and this is what we prepare for. This is what we, envision. This is the one goal that we don't talk about, that we have when we start camp, and it's senior day. And I don't think you can slight that in any way. These guys that, whether it's their fourth year, fifth year, or their sixth year, whether it's their first senior day or maybe even their second senior day for some of them, what they've done for us, what they've done for our program is something that you can never, completely put a value on. So to me, yes, it's for a championship, it's for an opportunity to play for a championship, but it's also for those guys and these guys that have meant so much to me and to this entire program.
Questions for Coach?
Can you guys come and ask?
I don't have a whole lot of injury updates. I think that it is a little later in the week, and I don't know that there's going to be a whole lot of reps this week for Ben, but he's played a lot of ball, and if we get to the game time situation and he's able to do it, then then we could go that direction. But we got to have preparations in both ways, and not that makes it a whole lot different for us. That's why it was a good situation last week that hey, Evan got an opportunity to get in there and play a lot more ball. But we're optimistic, but we gotta continue to push and see, and we'll have to make some decisions as we get closer to game time.
Is the good part of that is then you can lean into getting Evan more reps in case Ben can't go?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it, his mindset, his preparation. We kind of were in this situation 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, when Ben played in that game at Memphis. We didn't make a decision on who was going to play until the night before, to be honest with you. And so twofold. Maybe that was a tougher thing on Ben because he didn't know ahead of time. Maybe it was an easier thing on him. But nonetheless, it was what the situation was, and so a little bit different because the preparation this week will give him some more opportunities. But I think even that week we didn't know exactly which direction we were going to go, and we had to have preparation for both.
There's a home winning streak on the line. I'm sure you guys don't think a whole lot about that. Will said he doesn't want to be the guy to let that streak go. How much emphasis have you put during your tenure here to make sure you handle those games at home?
Well, we do. That's a big deal in the summer. That's the reason why we run the stadium. That's the reason why we're in the stadium in those situations. If we're, in spring ball and we go in the stadium and make a big deal of it, it's about protecting your home. And be honest with you, you don't need to tell me what the number is. I don't pay any attention to it. It wouldn't matter if it was, just the last game of the year, or if there's any streak involved at all. And we don't look at the negatives of things. It's just another opportunity for our guys to play in front of the home crowd, and in particular these seniors to obviously to play, but to say thank you to them as well. And that's what we really got to put a push for. I know it's noon on Friday of Thanksgiving weekend, but these guys deserve the very best, and they deserve an opportunity to go out and play in front of that same kind of crowd we had, 2 weeks ago.
You talked last week about the ups and downs and kind of how unique this season has been. So what does it mean then to be at this point where you have a chance to do exactly what you wanted to do from the beginning?
It means our kids have done a phenomenal job, and our coaches have done a phenomenal job at managing and handling all the things that we've had to go through. And not always the outside can tell, but we've seen some of the games and what it's had to come down to, and the ways we've had to win football games, and you grow a lot from those things. And I think that's where we see ourselves right now, as we've grown an incredible amount from a lot of these really tough games and tough situations and playing on the road. And so as you get to the end of the year, you always have things happen. You always have injuries. You always have things you got to adapt and adjust to, whether it's a quarterback situation, whether it's a D-line situation, it doesn't matter. And so I think that in the long run, the way you go through this season and the things and the adversity that you've had and the ups and downs only makes you stronger.
Do you see similarities, maybe not in offensive style, but just Tulane, good defense? They've kind of been up and down on offense. When you're watching them, do you feel similarities to you guys?
I do. I see a lot of consistency, and we've had the opportunity to play them over I don't know how many times we've played them, but it feels like we've played them most every year, and have seen Coach Fritz and how they've consistently grown, in what they do. And I said the same thing when we went to play ECU. You could just see how they've developed and the consistency, not just offensively, defensively, special teams wise, but the whole team and the whole program. And it's not a surprise to me that they're where they are and the situation that they're at, with a lot of older guys. Whether they were picked very high at the start of the year or not, it's a really good football team that does it the right way.
Your first ever conference win was against this Tulane team. Does it feel like a million years ago at this point?
I never thought about it like that. Like I said, I don't know that I think back to a lot of those things, but now that you bring that up, that I do remember that they missed about a 25-yard field goal to go ahead with maybe 45 seconds or a minute 20 to go in the game or something at their place, and we capitalized. I think we actually ended up breaking a run with a minute to go in the game, and I'm screaming and hollering, not that they could hear me, for I don't know if it was Mike Warren or Mike Boone or somebody, to go down and not get into the end zone, just for the sheer fact that who knows what could happen if they get the ball back with 30 seconds. I don't know that I remember anything else about that game, but if you didn't bring that up, I wouldn't have known that.
You're welcome. Guys like Jabari and Will, they've been here since the beginning. Just about their growth and their leadership, how big of an impact have they had in these 5-6 years?
Incredible impact. I mean, that's what I said that's so special about this weekend. Is that those guys have been here through the ups and the downs. They've been here through a lot of different things, and they're the reason the program is where it's at. And whether they had the utmost success in their first 2, 3, or 4 years, it's the consistency, it's the stability that really has taken us where we are. And so there's a lot of praise that should be had for those guys, and a lot of others that have done what it takes to get us to this position right here. And I don't just mean this year playing for the opportunity to play for a championship, but even those guys have come before them.
When you do get to moments like this, Luke, do you want your team to treat it like another game, another week, stay in the routine, or do you want these guys to embrace everything that comes with this game, the senior day, the home winning streak, the championship?
No, you want them to embrace it. I mean, they've earned that, and I don't think it applies any more pressure. The pressure is applied from within. It's not that, hey, you're playing, this is an opportunity for, if you win, you're in the championship game, blah, blah. No, you don't put any more pressure upon yourself. But I do want them to embrace the opportunities that they've created to enjoy it. So I always try to remind them, as well as I try to remind myself, to enjoy these things that we've created, because it doesn't always happen like this. You don't always get to the end of November and all of a sudden, you're playing for the championship in the last game. So if you have the good fortunes to put yourself in those positions, yeah, there's some pressure that goes along with it. But it's nothing that it wasn't on us last week. It wasn't anything that wasn't on us the week before. It wasn't anything that wasn't on us on week 1. And but they've done this and created this, and they deserve to enjoy it as well.
I know because of the bonus year, it feels like this is the third senior day where some of those first classes are still here and maybe going through senior day, maybe not, but the 2017 guys and those 2018, kind of that first big class you really had, are you finding yourself like, I know you don't.
I don't know. I mean, I guess you do, because, you know, how many guys have you ever spent 6 years with, you know? But I think in the way we do it, I mean, it was harder in the first 2 years, because I can't sit here and tell you that I really knew those guys really, really, really well, and I don't know that they really knew me. And you know, it's tough when you're trying to build that trust in those first couple years. So yeah, there's a little bit of a difference, you know, but I don't know that it'd be any different than it was last year. I don't know that it'd be any different than it was the year before. Every one of these guys, you've got some different, you know, times with and moments with, and they're all special to you, maybe sometimes in different ways. But I'm not a big senior day guy, because I think it's hard. I think it's hard. I hate saying bye and thank you and things like that at that moment, but it's right, and they deserve it, and you know, I think it's a good thing.
A lot of them have talked about what you've done over the past 5-6 years to kind of get the program to this point. What have that 2017, 2018 group of guys, what have they done to get the program?
They did everything. I mean, that first group, what we knew probably was going to be a little bit tougher, and you know, I always said to them throughout the entire year, and then especially at the end of the year, I said, your leadership will be evaluated on how this thing goes moving forward, you know, and it's not just on what you did in that first year that we struggled, you know, but the example that you set, the way you do things, will set the tone for the years to come. And I always try to say that to those guys that are leaving, you know, the Desmond Ritters and things like that. Their leadership is really measured by what the guys look like the following year, because of the example that they've set and how they've done it. You know, if they've just preached it, or they've just been really good players, and that's given you the opportunity to win, then sometimes you look back at their leadership and say, well, how good was that leadership really? They're great players. There's a lot of great players. But when they leave and you don't take a drop off, when you see the things and the way it's created, you look back at that and say, wow, that leadership was really strong. Even though they were great players, they set the example. They paid attention to those younger guys. They helped develop those things. And that's what gives you a chance to continue to grow the program.
So looking forward to Friday. Obviously, Tulane brings us high-powered offense. Michael Pratt has been incredible this season. What have you been able to see from guys like Pratt, Tyjae Spears on the running back? What have you been able to see from those guys heading into Friday?
They've done a great job. I mean, I think that when you look across the board and you see all the older guys that they've got, it's not hard to figure out why they've been successful and why they're really successful right now. They got a guy at the helm that's a winner, and you know, in every sense of the measure. I remember we didn't play him last year, but pregame I told Coach, I said, I don't know if your quarterback's out here, because he had a concussion, he was out. But I said, I don't know that I've been more impressed watching a guy on film and how tough he is and how physical he is, and can get up and keep taking the punishment that he did. And I see the same thing. Obviously, he's, I think, a year wiser and smarter, and he's avoided some of those shots, but he's a winner. He's a competitor, and it's not hard to tell. So I think the combination of all those things, their ability to run the football and create some things, along with their consistency across the board, it's not a surprise to me when you watch them play that they're in the situation they're in.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier you don't know what will happen with the quarterback situation this week. If Ben can't go and Evan does have to play, how ready do you think Evan is to step in a moment like this?
I think he's ready. I think that, you know, it's hard because, you know, you're always preparing, and you know, when that opportunity comes, you know, you've got to seize the moment, and it's not going to be too big if he has to go in there. You know, I think it's tougher last week when all of a sudden you're just thrust into some of those situations, and it was actually probably pretty good that it was 14-3 or whatever the score of the game was, and it wasn't like it was, you know, you're up 21 or you're up 28 points. I mean, you're on the road. It's a really tough environment, meaning that's, you know, you got to be self-motivated in some of those things. So I think it was a great opportunity for him to step into that position last week and really kind of have to take charge and show the control you have to have. Because sometimes when you go in there, you just want to let loose, and then you also got to understand what's the situation of the game. And so I don't think it's ever going to be too big for him. I think that's the unique thing with a guy like Evan, that you know, mindset-wise and personality-wise and just who he is, that these moments are, you know, not too big for him. You know, so if and when I think he'll play under control. I think he'll do the things he needs to do, and you know, I think that he'll surprise himself in the way that he's able to handle it as well.
I think you can talk about this. There was some NIL related news yesterday about the launch of a collective, you know, benefiting Bearcats
Yep.
athletes. Just curious your thoughts on that and what that will mean going forward.
It's the new age. It's the way of the world, and you know, sometimes you can kind of shun it off and say, you know, I don't know if I believe in this, but the reality is it's you know, it's for our kids, and anything that's for our kids is a good thing in my mind, you know. And some people might not believe that, but this is where we're moving towards, and finding new and other ways to take care of our kids. You know, that's not making them softer, that's not babying them, that's not giving them something they don't deserve. It's just an opportunity for us to take care of them a little bit more, and it's really awesome that you know, that we've got the bigger vision. It's, you know, with the whole program, you know, with the whole entire athletic program, to be able to do something like this and to show that, hey, we want to help every one of our guys and gals and girls in some way, shape, or form, and we got to make sure that people around here understand that, you know, regardless of what the rules had been in the past and what you believe, this is the way of the future, and it's awesome that John and them recognize that and see that, and they're able to kind of encompass the whole athletic department.
I got a question from Chad. This is not from me. I was curious about your decision to wear a hat.
You know what? That's the same question. But after the game, I called to say hello to my wife and them, and all my daughter and them wanted to say, like, what were you doing? I've never seen you in a hat. I don't know. It was a conscious decision beforehand that I'm not going to let this affect me, and I didn't realize that only Chad would take notice, I guess. Chad and my daughter are the two that took notice. So.
I would say you'd be the one that had guts to ask me. He's making me ask.
My daughter didn't have a problem asking me too. So I don't know. I don't know if it was a real conscious decision. I just said we're not going to be affected by either the environment or the weather, and you know, make sure you're prepared.
Any other questions for Coach?
It's a good one to end on.
Thank you.